Welcome to Mahler's Mods, ladies and gentlemen. So today is another episode of Blaster Chat. Today's episode is the main reasons why you want to buy a chronograph. Yes, this little thing right here, I know some of you guys have seen me use this before outside and all that, but I'm going to explain to you the purposes on why you would want to buy a chronograph. And again, I have no skin in this game. I don't care if you buy one or not. But there are benefits to actually owning one of these. And keep in mind, you can buy a chronograph anywhere. You can spend as little as $50, as high as $100 on a chronograph, and everything in between. This is about a $60 chronograph we sell. I've had this one for a few years. Okay, now, what a chronograph does is when you fire a shot through it, it'll tell you how fast the speed of the shot is, FPS. Which stands for feet per second. Okay. Now, some of you people say, well, I don't need a chronograph. Why do I need a chronograph? Simple. If you go to an event, anyone that has a cap, like if the cap is, say, 250, your blaster is going to have to do less than 250 FPS in order for you to use it. Okay? No exaggeration. That's just how that works. That's one example why you want to have a chronograph. Another reason is, let's say you're building a blaster. Like let's say you're building a Lizzie. Okay? I'm sure many of you have. So when you build a Lizzie, you know, when you're building it and you're tuning it, you're going to be running multiple shots through the chronograph to see if you're getting a positive result or a negative result. You always want a positive result for most things, right? So therefore you would want to use a chronograph. You know, and usually the higher the number, the better results you have, the happier you are. But there are people who have had to detune blasters, actually make them shoot softer so they can use them in events and stuff like that. And not everybody in the world can look at a blaster and say, oh yeah, well that thing hits 250 FPS. Right? Not everybody could say, well, I shot myself with it and it feels like 250 FPS or 200 or whatever. Here's an example. Recognize these? These are Pico blooper shells. When I reviewed this product here, I shot myself in the hand with a Mega XL. I thought the shot was going about 200 FPS. My chronograph, because of the hole, will not do Mega XL. It will do short darts, rival, and megas. It won't do Mega XL. The darts are just too big. Is what it is. But when I shot myself in the hand, I thought it was doing about 200. No, it was doing about 150. So you can't go by feel. You can't go by how far your blaster shoots or anything like that. It just doesn't work like that. Another reason why you want to have a chronograph is you could follow somebody's modification guide or build guide to the letter. I mean, do it exactly the same way he did, and you'll mess up. You can't say, well, I built it according to Drac, and so it should shoot the same 200 FPS as his does. No, it's not. It all depends on the person doing the build. I mean, everybody does their builds differently. That's a main part of it, you know. So, and results will vary from player to player. Everybody should understand that, you know. I mean, that's why you'll have blasters like on the X-Shot Pro. You'll say it'll do 250-ish. Yeah, it'll do 250-ish. Some people, when they put bamboos in, they'll get more FPS, but usually it's between 250 to 260s is what you'll get out of it. You know, now another reason why to have a chronograph, and yeah, there's quite a few of them out there, is let's say you buy a blaster from somebody off of like Etsy, for example. Let's say you buy a blaster from somebody off of Etsy and they say, quote, it's a modified blaster. Well, some of them are very hard to tell. Okay, like for example, I bought a blaster off of Etsy years ago. And it was supposed to be a modified Mega Hotshot to take short darts. Okay, great. Blaster cost me $40. I wasn't expecting much for $40. The blaster shot about 50 FPS after modifications were done to it. That blaster with that plunger tube should have been hitting over 100 easily. Okay, odds are either A, the guy didn't do it right, or he didn't use a chronograph when he tested it. Another reason why you want to have a chronograph is very simple. If you're in the community at all, and I mean at all, and you post you say, yeah, well, my X-Shot Pro does 300 consistently, we're going to sit there, and the first things that's going to come out of our mouth is, because 99% of us know better, we're going to say, numbers, please. Numbers, please. And if you don't have numbers, you're not going to be trusted much. You see what I'm saying? It's all about having the proof to back up the facts. And this is the easiest way to get the facts. I mean, it's a really simple concept. It really is. And chronographs are pretty cheap, between $50 and $100. Now, I suggest to anybody, once you buy a blaster or two and you start to tune them, this is one of the first things you want to get. Because if you decide to go to an event, you're going to want to know how hard your blaster shoots. You're not going to go pop and say, oh, well, that feels like 250. It could be 200. It could be 250. It could be 300. You would never know because you don't run it over a chronograph. You kind of see where I'm going with this here. A good chronograph prevents a lot of things. It prevents you from taking a illegal blaster to a war. And by illegal, I mean a blaster that shoots too hot. Most of the blasters I have, seriously, wouldn't be allowed in most games just because of the speed on them, which is 300 plus. Okay, I literally have enough 300 FPS blasters to hand out to 12 players, if that tells you anything. Okay, but that's one reason why you want to have one. You always want to have a chronograph with you. Always carry a chronograph with you when you go to one of these events. Because some chronographs are a little off by a couple FPS here or there. It just depends on the model, how well it's charged, this, that, and the other. Everybody should have one of these. And there are people that sit there and will fight it left and right and say, well, no, I know how hard my blaster shoots. Yeah, until somebody runs over a chronograph, I don't believe a word you say. I'm sorry. And most everybody's the same way too. If you don't see numbers on it, be suspicious. If the person cannot back up the numbers that he tells you, be extra suspicious. You see what I'm saying? And to read a chronograph is not that hard. Here's an example. I just charged this lengths, right? Well, I threw and keep in mind this is after the B12. That was on the Generation 3 Plus. That's 251 FPS, okay? It's not hard to use a chronograph either. Okay, it really is not hard at all. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Most people in this community, if not all of us, have a chronograph of some sort. Okay, some of us have this type. Most of us do. Most of the YouTubers use a type like this just because it's cheap and it's portable. The bigger ones, of course, the Cadwells like Gims Mods has and stuff like that. Is another type, but that's also a $100 chronograph. This is like a $50 or $60 chronograph. You see what I'm saying? And it does the same thing. The only difference is this one won't read Mega XL just because it's like way too big. But in any event, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. And remember, buy a chronograph. Buy a chronograph. Just get one from anywhere. Well, in any event, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. And until next time, this is Milo's Mods signing off.